10. Boks by 10. Boks are going to win comfortably in Santiago, and they're going to add another test win in the rivalry that started in 1993. We've played 17 over there, 17 in this country. We lost 1 in Durban, 2015. We've lost 2 over there and drawn 1, and we've won 2 on neutral grounds. But we're on a roll against them over there, because it's only when we go to Mendoza that we have a bit of a problem. And we're not playing in Mendoza. We're playing in Santiago, and I have the Boks to win, and to win well. The performance, what are we looking for? Just the W, or are we looking for evolution, expansion? Tony Ball.
Let's get the win. Let's get the win with these second stringers, and let everybody have a great performance. Let's up the competition, the competition for places in that Springbok team, the position battles. Let's up the temperature on that. I'd love to see all of these guys put their hands up and put some pressure on the guys ahead of them. I think it brings the best out of the Boks. And let's be honest, if we can go to Argentina with a team like this and win comfortably, the world is our oyster.
You say if we can go to Argentina with a team like this and win comfortably. They dismantled Australia, but early in the season they also lost to a French academy side, basically. Not one of those French World Cup squad of 30 went over there, and the French poxed the first test win quite comfortably, and we're in it for huge periods of that second test. Argentina then go to New Zealand. They're trailing 20 points to 8 early in the first half. They dominate the last 30 minutes. They win that test. They're 42-0 down after 42 minutes in the next test. Australia, somehow they contrive to lose a game they should never lose. And then they're 20 points to 3 down after 29 minutes, and they end up winning 67-27. What kind of Puma side is going to arrive in Santiago?
I think they've imported some of that water from Treviso. You know, the water they gave to the Bulls when the Bulls went there. I think they give the touring team some of that stuff. I mean, if you heard Russie's voice in that press conference, mate.
I always almost mumble a lot. I'll try not to. So
he was a little bit hoarse, eh?
Yo, it was wild.
He was a little bit hoarse.
I don't know. I don't know what games they were playing on Monday night there in the Bok camp, but I hope the boys are locked in and dialed in for this one.
The karaoke.
I think it might have been karaoke night. I think so. Sweet Caroline.
Jamie seemed a bit clogged up as well there. Everything like.
Yeah.
He looked a bit tired, eh? But jet lagged.
But you mentioned France and how they sent an academy team in and did Argentina. And Argentina have got a bit of the French vibe about them in terms of if they're in the mood, you're in trouble, and if they're not, you're going to have a good time. So I think if you got to put these guys to bed early on, as much as they have come back and finished strong and finished in the fourth quarter and all of that sort of stuff. I feel like when it comes to Argentina versus the Boks, we've got to tell them early on that we've got enough firepower to blast them away. Because if they get a sniff early on, I think they can be quite a dangerous team.
Look, no team can play if they're not getting any form of parity up front. And you look at that, we spoke about it earlier in the week, you look at that Bok substitute pack, the bomb squad, those 6 giants that can be introduced. Is that again not going to be the deciding factor in this game, regardless of whether the Boks are ahead early on or behind? The last time they played there, when they took a bit of a makeshift side as well, they were 10-3 down at halftime and they won 23-13. Second half, 20 points to 3. Mani Lebok had a very good game that day as well. And they played in the Checkers 60 seconds jerseys.
Yes.
So, is it not that luxury of having that bomb squad that allows us a slow start? Or do you think we have to emphatically go out there and make a statement early on, especially in the physical confrontation?
Yeah, so if it was Bongi starting and Malcolm Marx coming off the bench, and it was France starting and Vincent Koch coming off the bench, and Franco Mostert, you know, I would say 100% it doesn't really matter against any team because the firepower we unload in the second half is just too much. But there are some guys that are being given an opportunity to prove themselves. Jan-Hendrik Wessels is going to come on and throw the ball into the line-out in the second half. And I think how we fare there and the efficiency there at the set piece could have a serious ripple effect on this game. So I think we need to come out early and just shut the door on any idea that Argentina has that this iteration of the Bok team doesn't have the muscle to go toe-to-toe. I think we should take that out of their playbook right at the beginning.
What kind of performance are you expecting from the Boks? A Tony ball, or are we going to see a little bit more conservative field position percentages, try and build scoreboard pressure?
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it. It is quite tricky to predict how the Boks are going to play. Those two halfbacks are built to play that kind of a game, play the percentages, I think. And so I wonder whether we don't go sort of heavy armour early on and then, bring in the Air Force in the second half with Marnie and Jaden Hendrickson, maybe open things up then.
If you look at the Pumas under Contampone, playing a lot differently to
Very much so, hey?
A lot more kind of Tony ballish there, and it seems to have worked for them. They've added a dimension to their back play, and not at the expense of what they do with their forwards. But their pack hasn't quite been the force of the early, mid-1990s for a long period now.
Yeah. They used to be a team that was very much built on their scrum culture. The Bajada, and they would, come in that out-physical you and hurt you at scrum time, and at the breakdown they'd be lying all over the ball and appealing to the referee, and you'd have ball in play of 17 minutes. It'd be one of those things. It'd be like trying to play in quicksand. They've gone away from that a little bit. They're much more daring, I would say, and I would say they're a lot more dangerous in broken play than they probably were in the past. And I don't know whether some of these roller coaster results we're getting from them is Contapomi experimenting with a few different styles and tactics. But they've shown that they can score long-range tries on the count. If you don't kick well against them, they've got the firepower out wide to hurt you. I don't know whether they've got the cattle to kind of play the numbers and beat you that way. So, in order for that sort of counter-attack game to work, you've got to be making errors. You've got to be giving them transition attack. And so I think if the Boks keep it tight, it'll be a comfortable and convincing one.
And New Zealand did that in that first one in Wellington, where they gave them plenty counter-attacking with just poor kicking. Kicking just to get rid of the ball, not to relieve pressure. And then Australia were woeful in that last 30 minutes. They didn't want to tackle. They looked absolutely knackered. It looked like the heat had got to them. They were on the plane at halftime. But they showed a willingness to attack. If you go back to the Argentinian side's pre-2007 World Cup, when they got to the semi-final, 12 and 13 used to have the big cauliflower ears, because if they ever broke the line, they had to stop to form to form a kind of maul.
Yeah, really maul. Don't get away from the forwards.
Yeah. So, and that has changed. I mean, they've got some really exciting players. I think the inconsistency is the one thing that's kind of surprised me. But they are certainly not the Argentina of old in their playing style. And with that kind of, have a lot of South Africans saying, use them as an example. That's why we have to evolve our game. We have to show there is a plan B and C, especially thinking of the World Cup 2027, Australia, fast-paced pitches, particularly in Brisbane, that we have to go out and play that way against them. And we're quite a weird thing if in Santiago it is a test match that's devoid of the traditional Bok Argentina physicality, and it's just two teams
having
that are
go.
playing barbarian
Currie
style
Cup
rugby.
final, yeah, totally. And yeah, I think if you look at Argentina's campaign, they've got an epic win against the All Blacks. They've banked a huge win, a record win against the Wallabies. And with these final two matches, you'd think they would have targeted this one as the one to impress their loyal fans and win at home. Whereas for us, you can tell, we're experimenting with a few things, and probably the null spread is the one of the two that we're more serious about winning. So it creates a bit of an interesting sort of pre-game chat around what the dynamics are.
Do you look at this, like we say, that 20 out of 23 wins, it's like kind of crept
up on us.
Crept up on us, and it's an incredible record. If they win 21 out of 24, it will also be the longest Rugby Championship record that we've had. So it's record-breaking time again for these Boks.
Amazing.
They don't want to stumble in Santiago.
No, 100%.
And I do think they've picked a team good enough to win.
And motivated to win.
14 World Cup winners in there. Again, that pack that's coming off the bench, 6-2 split, experience of a Pollard at 10, very experienced backline, even though there's numerous changes. A big match, though, for a guy like Thomas du Toit for me.
Huge match.
Because everyone is willing him to succeed. Everyone is willing him to finally show at test level the form he's shown for Bath, and at times for the Sharks. Where do you see his future in the Boks setup, and do you think it's a significant game? He manages against Argentina, he stays in the mix. He doesn't, he drops down that pecking order.
Yeah, and I think that's true for a couple of guys in this match day squad. I think it really is important for them to take this opportunity and lay down a marker and sort of stake their space in this World Championship side. And I think Thomas du Toit does need a big game. I don't know whether he's on the bubble per se, but there's certainly a lot of heavy breathers eager to come up. Asanati Ntlabakanye, the oak from the Lions, all 207 kilograms of him. I mean, that oak is moving around and shifting bodies in the domestic league. He can add value. Obviously, our Will Kalo's a guy I try and mention every single episode. We've got lots of tight head props. Neertling Forshia, your personal favorite. So there's lots of great tight head props in this country, or prospects. And Thomas du Toit has been in and around the Boks for a long time, but maybe he hasn't. The most notable thing about Thomas du Toit's career in the last couple of years is him scoring more tries for Bath. So I feel like he does need to have a bit of a statement performance and remind people what he can do at scrum time and what he can do with the ball in his hands.
Well, when you look at the players that have been left behind, that were in the Boks setup, who were arrested or they injured, it's basically a run on 15. Then you also look at guys like Neertling Forshia, who was in the extended Springbok squad. And I was very surprised that he hasn't made this Springbok squad. I mean, his form for the Stormers last season, outstanding. He effectively carried them.
Totally. He took over from the best tight end in the world.
At times played through to 80 minutes. So incredibly good attitude towards the game. Loves the game. Loves South Africa. Hugely supportive of whoever plays for South Africa. Every time I've seen a prop get picked, he acknowledges it. He congratulates that prop. He says, go well, you deserve to be there. So he's someone that I'd love to see at the end of the year tour come through. He's going to be pivotal to how the Stormers start in the URC. And their first match, obviously, the South Africans will be next weekend. Looking at the second row, Salman Murat. We have serious concerns about his health in terms of concussions. The key there for me is that he gets through 50 minutes and he gets through them and he leaves on his own terms when Eben comes on and he kind of equals Victor's record. But that is, I know it's worrying a lot of people that he has taken so many blows to his head in the last 2 years.
I mean, I don't know. I think some guys are just bulletproof and other guys just seem to find themselves on the wrong side of tackle situations more often than others. It's a weird anomaly. So, yeah, I would love for someone to have a great game. Moon is a guy that, obviously when he was at school, I loved watching him just slaughter oaks, just absolutely overrun guys. I haven't seen him translate that physicality and that brute edge to the pro ranks. And certainly Saturday is a huge opportunity. Plus, he's carrying the leadership role. So leading this team to victory in Argentina with all of the changes, despite the fact that you say there's so many players there that have won World Cups, it still is a rejigged team traveling away to a hostile territory. It'll be a huge milestone in his career.
Well, it's also going to be a great challenge for that second row combination. Runok here into his first couple of tests. Salman Murat leading them, effectively his first real season with the Boks. But Russ has given them huge trust and huge faith in their abilities with, obviously, and we mentioned this in our previous show, that incredible backup option, the biggest insurance policy in world rugby.
Literally.
127 tests, even Etzebeth on the bench.
Yeah.
So big game for Murat, big game for Thomas du Toit. And then Marco van Staden, he always plays big games, just that he's getting game time and getting an opportunity.
Yeah, he pretty much epitomizes that group of players that I'm talking about here, guys that are, for whatever reason, in the general public, there's a bit of a question mark hanging over them. This is the opportunity for all of these guys to answer that question and to rally and deliver their best work.
Kobus Reiner, is he on the bubble?
On the bubble? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. You got to think that his age probably counts against him in terms of long-term planning. And his form hasn't been great. He's been in teams that there've been issues around it. And like we've said multiple times, when you change the way you play, there are teething pains. And to be a halfback in a team that's trying to find or trying to get used to a new system and is maybe sputtering a bit, the halfback is probably the most difficult position to play. So you got to have some sympathy for him, but he does need to remind people what he can do as well.
Right, and we talk about how quickly things change. Sasha, the golden boy.
Golden boy.
Forget Andre Pollard. Forget Marnie, says everyone. This guy's going to become the next Dan Carter. Out for 2 months. Knee operation. Rassie seemed visibly annoyed, visibly irritated. My question, though, is why did he then play him?
Exactly. If he caught him in the week and he was banged up, why did he play? I don't know how late in the week it was. Maybe it was captain's run. I don't know. I also found it interesting that he said Sasha was lucky that they won. Is the implication there that Sasha would have been dropped if they'd lost? I mean...
Well, he said that he saw him limping before the first test at Ellis Park.
I think it was after the first test at Ellis Park.
No, before the first test. He said before the first test, he saw him limping and he said he's fine. And he put in effectively a player of the match performance. Most people felt he was the player of the match. He kicked a 61 meter penalty that cleared by about 10 meters. But he did look banged up when he came on in Cape Town. Knee heavily strapped.
Definitely.
He missed that first kick for poles. It wobbled. He put through those 2 little grubbers. Even when he made that gap, that explosive wasn't there to finish it. He sought the comfort of the touchline. But surely you see that at training. You can see your guys not running 100%. The conditioning, he doesn't have to say to you, my knee's great. You can see it's not great. You can see that there's something just not there. I thought it was a very, very odd engagement, a very odd public engagement.
Very much so. Very much so. I agree with you. Also, I mean, if you only played guys when they're 100%, you'd almost never have the same team. But everyone's playing banged up. Everyone's carrying some kind of a niggle midway through the season. So the thing about if you're 80%, there's no Springbok who's 100% is worse than a guy who's 80%, but Sia's been playing with a broken nose. I don't know. All of it was just odd.
Yeah, I mean, Eben, would he play? Would he not play? And then he did play. Sia, you can have the operation within another 2 weeks when he comes back. He'll definitely play in Nelspruit. Talking of what he's done with Sia in the coach's box.
Love it. Love it. Create some sort of a player pathway. You know, the guy doesn't just go from. It creates just depth to the whole Springbok experience. So it's not a situation like, oh yeah, you've done a great job for South Africa. Well, then you've captained them to 2 World Cups. You're too old now. Cheers. It's like there's always still a learning. He said, having Sia in the coaching box will give him some more perspective around what goes on match day from a non-player point of view. That can only help him in his leadership and his interactions with the coaches. I think it does give Sia some insight into what he might want to do post playing. And if they go to the next World Cup and Sia Kolisi is not deemed good enough to be a player, having that experience, that off-field leadership, and the talisman that is Sia Kolisi involved with the Bok camp, 1000% makes sense, doesn't it?
With the average supporter...
You're looking at me with a bit of a suspect side-eye, mate.
No, because I'm kind of trying to calculate this thing myself by thinking a guy who's played 80-odd tests, won 2 World Cups as a captain, does he need to sit in the coach's box to understand his coaches? Now, maybe he does, because if he's playing, he sees a very different kind of game to if he's sitting among the substitutes or if he's sitting in the non-players' stands and he's not really necessarily focusing on every single detail of the game because he's having a chat to his mate while they're winning 25-10. So when Rassie initially said he's going to understand why we do certain things, why we put on certain messages, because he's going to force him to watch the game as the coaches watch the game. And that to me then became more significant as opposed to this is a guy who's going to understand how we think. I think he knows how they think, but it's in the context of you can see he's gassed out. You can see he's not doing that. I remember the late Ruben Kruger once saying to me, he only understood the critique of the Boks when he retired and he watched backs stuff up everything. He said, because he would be at the bottom of a ruck, winning the ball, and you get up.
And it's a scrum.
And there's a scrum, and then we criticize the fly-off or the centre, and you think how unfair, the guy's a great player.
Till you watch it
and he said, I've just won that ball. He's taken it back 20 metres, knocked it on, and we're scrumming again. So it certainly does give a very different dynamic. And we also spoke about when they announced the squad of 28. Sia Kolisi's value off the field to that squad is just monumental.
Yeah.
So
best player in the squad at Twister, Karaoke third.
And his voice not hoarse. It's always like strong.
He's still strong.
Eh?
No, but I think operationally there is value. So he will be able to see Jerry Flannery sending a message down to Dwayne Vermeulen and then watch Dwayne walk on and say something completely different in Afrikaans, and he'll understand the dynamic between how the coach's messages get to the field. I think operationally there is value in it for him.
Well, it's not. I mean, to have Dwayne Vermeulen running the messages, to have Sia Khaleesi sitting in the coaching box, I think it shows you just how healthy our rugby is at the moment.
Yeah.
If you look at the 23, Apelele Fassi was very good at Ellis Park. He's got Currie there now, and Mapimpi's back. Is this the last hurrah for Mapimpi?
I mean, I would be very surprised if Mapimpi goes to the next World Cup. I don't even think that's a possibility if we're being realistic about it. I think he is a very physical outside back, and we don't generally deal in physical outside backs. I think there's a unique value to him. He's on the field with Lukhanyo Am, so there's no reason he won't score a try. Obviously very experienced, and a guy who definitely will not be in any way intimidated or impacted or affected by the hostile territory of Santiago. So I think he is coming towards the end of his time at the Boks, but he certainly is a player who's selected and who will add value this week.
When I say, is it the last hurrah, is it a way of rewarding his Currie Cup form, showing him that he can still score tries, potentially take him on the end of the tour, but I think he's 34 now. Is it saying this is a phasing out? Because the one selection that did surprise me was no Kane and Moody and Mapimpi.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because Kane and Moody to me is he got
The future.
he got 45 minutes in Cape Town and he was pulled and he was struggling. So whether they feel he's still underdone, he went on this tour. Maybe they just need to work with him a bit more, and they play him in some capacity in Nelspruit. But I thought he would be there, Kane and Moody. I mean, he's a wonderful player. He needs to kind of get his confidence back and just get game time out there. But Lukhanyo Am, one of our favourites.
Love him.
I think people also underestimate when a player comes back from knee surgery.
At that age.
At that age. But great to see him in the 12 jersey as well.
Do you like that?
Because we keep on asking, what is going to happen if something happens to Damon Dialandi? Who slots into 12?
Yeah, and Lukhanyo is great over the ball, and Marco van Staden's there too, so that puts a bit of pressure on Argentina to go forward with their carries. So I think Lukhanyo has serious value for us as being a guy who can back up for Damien in an emergency situation.
Do you see the potential of a Pollard going to 12 during this match? Marnie coming on?
I mean, people like that stuff. I don't like moving a guy like Polly to 12 because I think he has more 12 value as a fly half. Right, he can play the 12 role better than Marnie Lebok. Okay, because he is a bigger physical guy, but he's not a 12. You know, it's like when they did the same thing with Owen Farrell. He's not a 12 either. You're basically playing a second 10. So I think, you know, if you're trying to play a game that wants to be wider for whatever reason, you might try that sort of thing. But Andre Pollard's not going to be the guy is not a gain line buster with the tackle fight. Is going to keep the ball alive like Dukes and want to be around breakdowns. I think putting Andre Pollard in and around the ruck is a bad idea.
Okay, you asked me early in the week, if Fassi goes down, who goes to fullback? And I said Jesse Kriel.
Yes, you did, mate.
And then one of the many listeners, watchers said, what about Curtly Orense? He plays fullback a lot. So who do you put to fullback? Say,
who would I put?
Yeah.
I would put Marnie Lebok at fullback. I would make one change.
Straight swap.
I'd make one change. I wouldn't put one guy in and shift the whole backline and rejig this and never.
But they tend to like to do that.
They love to do that, mate. They like
to put Jesse out on the wing as well. Where defensively he's just not quite as certain as he is as 13. He's really matured his play defensively as a 13. And I think having a Lukhanyo Am on his inside as well, who understands that 13 role so well. And then obviously Pollard at 10, he's been around 1-2 World Cups. I mean, you look again, it's a bloody good squad.
It is. And none of this will be like these changes. This is the norm. This is what Ricey has instilled in these guys. Is adapting to change, being comfortable with change. None of this stuff will have these guys unsettled and sort of uncomfortable.
And while it looks like it's 10 changes to the starting lineup, Rassie, as Sonny Bill Williams said, South Africa has understood that this is a 23-player game, and they use all 23 players.
Yeah.
They don't think of a starting 15 and a bench. It's 23 players and who plays whatever role. A guy like Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Jake's been trying to convert him for the last 2-3 years to hooker. He played lock at school, loosehead prop here. He comes through as a replacement hooker. His value just goes up enormously for that World Cup squad.
Huge opportunity, because if Megahead takes this and runs with it, I think, like you say, his stock shoots through the roof. To have a guy of his dimensions and his versatility who can cover, 1, 2, and potentially a back row spot in a pinch would be of huge value to the Boks. I'll believe it when I see it, though. I'm not sure that is going to happen. I hope it does. But huge upside to this move if he pulls it off.
All right. So when you look at the context of this game, how does Argentina upstage or upset the Boks? Is it a possibility?
Yes, it is a possibility. I don't think it's a likelihood, but it is a possibility. And as much as we are more comfortable with change than the 1997 Boks might have been, or the 2002 Boks might have been, Rassie has definitely worked at. There will be a drop-off in cohesion between the guys that play every week and have played to 2 World Cups together and guys who you are bringing through to try and give an opportunity to stake a claim and have less experience. So there will be a drop in cohesion, depending on how the Boks play and how deep their plan is. The more complex the plan with a team that has less cohesion has the higher likelihood for a high error rate. And Argentina, as we've spoken about, have got the ability to turn errors into points pretty quickly. And this is a Boks team that, as much as they will be very composed for a second string side, if they find themselves in an 18-point hole in Santiago with a ref who's maybe not sympathetic to them, that'll be quite a challenge to dig yourself out of. So there is always a possibility for Argentina to win this game. That's the risk factor of making these changes. But I think Rassie has gambled the right way here, because the upside is huge to create depth. And I think this Boks team is very capable. They deserve to be favourites in this game.
But if you look at it as well, and again, we've spoken often this season, his lack of fear to play his players. So we spoke about Fassi and Sasha playing through the 80 minutes at Ellis Park. He's putting them in this cauldron. It's hostile. It's going to be difficult. And they're an Argentinian side coming off a 67-27 win against Australia. The confidence of having knocked over the All Blacks and scored a lot of points, 38 points against them in New Zealand. He knows he's got the comfort of Nelspruit to close out this championship, bringing those 10 players back. It's like, show me you can go do it over there. If for any reason the Boks should stumble, it's not a train smash.
No.
It's like a blip. It's like, damn.
Totally.
It's unfortunate we went and lost the game, but we did make 10 changes.
Totally.
So to me, it's a win-win situation for Rassie, regardless of the result.
Yeah, you'd much rather do this now, right, than go to Twickenham at the end of the year with 15 changes because you haven't done it earlier in the year. Like, this is exactly how you do it. You've got a lead in the Rugby Championship. You're well set to win this thing. You're coming home where you've got the insurance of being able to close it out. You have built depth in other matches leading up to this. And your system is airtight. Plus, you've got the tailwind of confidence from winning back-to-back World Cups. I think he's doing it the right way.
All right, so if you have to give me a score prediction in Santiago, what's it going to be?
I'm going to say the Boks are going to win this one, and I'm going to say the Boks are going to win this one by 10 points. So I'm also Boks by 10 with you this week.
I love it. Boks by 10.
I think it is going to be a 32-22 Boks victory.
I've got Boks 36, Los Pumas 26.
Woo! Look at us.
And what does that make us? 56-62.
We're on the overs.
We're on the overs, mate. I've got the Boks to win by 10. It's always Boks by 10. Don't doubt this one, okay? This is a very good match, 23. I'm looking for Jan-Hendrik Wessels to come through and have a great last 25 minutes. Taking us all the way from Santiago, but staying in the alphabet, to Sydney, where they're battling out for the wooden spoon.
Yeah, I love that.
Huh? The Bledisloe Cup is no longer the Bledisloe Cup. They're playing for the wooden spoon. Australia have 1 win from 4.
There's a W in Bledisloe now.
Yeah, New Zealand has 1 win from 4. Scott Robinson has been particularly conservative again with his selections.
Woof.
I'm starting to bring back Fozzie, man.
Mate, don't you dare. Look, I've been outspoken about being on the Razor. I think maybe it's the kiss of death, mate. I was on the Rennie train, got him fired. I was on the Eddie train, got him fired. Sorry, Razor, you're out the door, mate. But I mean, I think Razor is a great coach. I must admit, I have been surprised by his selections. It is puzzling. And I think a lot of the things that I thought were going to be sort of attributed to Leon McDonald post his exit, we can't blame Leon McDonald for picking Damon McKenzie over and over and over at 10 and Bodie Barrett on the bench. And some odd choices in that matchday squad, leaving out Mark Talia. Just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Bodie Barrett back at 15. He's got a specialist wing, Severus, who can just play wing. He's got him on the bench. And
Anton Leonard-Brown.
Anton Leonard-Brown, who can play 12 and 13, but he's not an impact player.
He's not an impact
You
player.
either start him or you don't play him.
Correct, mate. We've said that a couple of times. I see some of the commenters didn't like that. But Anton Leonard-Brown, I like. I think he's a good player. I think he's his experience is valuable. I think his ability to shut down 13 on defense is very good. But to bring a guy like that off the bench, like we've spoken in the past about bringing Lekanyo off the bench because he's coming back from injury. But we wouldn't put Lekanyo on the bench for the Boks as part of the bomb squad. Even though, if Jesse Creel starts, you'd want something more coming off the bench from an explosive point of view.
And you spoke about it, like a Rico Ione on the bench. He can come on, cover 13, cover 14, cover 11.
That would make more sense to me.
Pace.
Yeah.
And Damien McKenzie coming off
the bench.
Last 25 minutes of the game, playing at fullback or at 10.
Totally.
He adds something. But very interesting choices their bench. You look at their forward substitutes as well. I mean,
what forward substitutes?
Right now, it doesn't inspire awe at all.
And I know they've got to win, but Razor's playing it a bit tight in the sense that for me, Tamaiti Williams, that loosehead prop, has the potential to explode for the All Blacks. He's a youngster coming through. The Groot's coming back from injury. Maybe that's the reason he's starting. He's starting. But Tamaiti Williams is a guy I would have showed faith in. Play him again. Back this kid to explode. I know you need to win this Bledisloe Cup match, but it just seems odd selections, man. Quite tight and conservative in some ways.
Maar as hy nou Suid-Afrikaans was hy Eten de Groot.
Eten de Groot.
Maar he's now de Groot.
I think he is from Krugersdorp, isn't he?
Huh? We're going to claim him.
He's one of ours.
He's one of ours. Eh? Like Van der Vlier, born in Johannesburg. No, it wasn't. Josh Van der Vlier, come on, show us your passport.
On, mate.
Hey,
Let's be honest.
Here. If it sounds Dutch, if it sounds Afrikaans, we claim it.
Close enough is good enough.
Looking at that, the thing that surprised me again was this call to have Ardie Savea go to his favourite position, to play a proper number 8 at 8, which is Satiti. And kind of what have they still got with Sam Cane? He was heroic here, made his tackles. He's retiring at the end of the year. I just think they've lost something there. They lost an opportunity to develop certain other players in that position.
Yeah. And again, that kind of talks to it like, yes, they're so tight. They need to beat the Wallabies. They're going to play their most experienced players with their most comfortable. I mean, the All Blacks shouldn't think for a second that they can lose to this Wallabies team. So it's surprising to me. They should have developed it so that Satiti is by now ready to start at 8 and they can move Ardie around. The fact that they're in a position now where they've got to be a bit tighter and keep Ardie at the back, and I don't know, odd.
Yeah, some odd selections there, and people are trying to drum up this big Bledisloe Cup vibe and hype, but they're the two worst teams in the Rugby Championship this season. So it's an odd kind of game. It's like getting excited about 7th and 8th.
Also, it's one of those things where if the All Blacks blow them away, if it's a 55-18 victory, it kind of just makes people even more bitter that they didn't do better earlier in the season. You know? Like, how did you lose to Argentina like that?
And regardless of what happens in Sydney, because they play in Wellington, and it's a sellout, Wellington, for the return leg. And even though they've been poor in Wellington for the last 5 years, you can't see them losing to this Australian side in New Zealand. So they will retain the Bledisloe Cup because it's 1-1. Whoever's got it, you've got to win it outright. I just see them. I see them winning comfortably. I see it really being like a Super Rugby Pacific game, 38-25 to the All Blacks, comfortably.
I think that's a great score.
Some late tries coming in. And it's going to be easy on the eye. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be Harlem Globetrotter style rugby, where we're going to say, look at the skill sets of those guys. I mean, they've got amazing skill sets, but it won't have the physicality. It won't have the grunt. And when we see that performance, we're going to get a little bit more annoyed that we didn't stick the foot on the pedal here and stick these All Blacks away at Ellis Park or at Cape Town.
Totally.
Because the quality of the two teams, it should never have been 4 and 6 points. It should have been 14 and 16 points.
Which makes it all the more surprising that the All Blacks are getting it in the neck like they are from their public for how close those results were against the Boks. You know, they should actually be giving them some credit for that. I mean, the loss to Argentina is inexcusable by All Black standards. But to come that close to beating the Boks in South Africa for this team, I would say All Blacks fans have got a lot to be proud of there.
All right, so your score, Sydney, All Blacks, Wallabies.
I'm going to say the All Blacks win that thing 40-23.
So you got a 17-point differential. I got a 13-point differential. Now for the big one in South Africa.
Woo!
They shifted everything.
Let's
the
go.
URC opening
Let's
rounds.
go.
They said, give us back our Currie Cup final. And I think the Bulls were preparing to take that final with their whole URC squad and claim another title. And then 15-12, 40 points all. They couldn't beat the Sharks. And Trevor Nyakani, what a wonderful, wonderful way to seal the deal there with a little dummy, a show and a go.
A bit of a salsa and he was through.
All right. Now, the Sharks. It's like, do we have to play this final? Do we have to play this final a week before the start of the URC? At Ellis Park in Johannesburg. And if I'm looking at the structures within the Lions at the moment, the under-19s are doing well. The under-21s are doing well. This Currie Cup side did well. They put 50 points past the Bulls. I thought they did very well to come back as convincing as they did after a stuttering start against a committed Cheetah side.
Yeah.
Do you see them comfortably winning? Yes or nay? Ja of nee?
I'm going to go with my heart because my head says, I've had a look at that Sharks team. It is power. Okay. They got a sleeper on the wing in Ethan Hooker. That oak, he's got some of that Caden Moody magic, mate. He's just in the right place at the right time. What a player. Ethan Hooker is one to watch. And then they've got the Giant at 12. Gerenzo's bumped out to 13. All-star pack. They've got old Johnny Lawrence in the second row there, Corne Roll. They've got some real talent. So, and I think they've got about 12 locks on the bench as well. So, I mean, that's 6-2 split. So my head is saying the Sharks, but I just love the Lions vibe. I don't know what was in those hot dogs that they were eating last season or the season before, whenever it was when they were starving overseas, but it galvanized that side. I love what the Lions are about. I love that Cash van Rooyen has come out with big words. He's writing massive checks about the Lions finishing in the top 4 in the URC. I love that. So I'm rooting for the Lions in this one, mates. At Ellis Park, nobody gets out of Alcatraz alive.
And you can't really call it a home ground advantage for a crowd because they don't get crowds. But altitude and attitude can combine to give a kind of awesomeness
Mate, have
for
you
the
ever been
Lions.
shot at on the way into a stadium? That's got to count for something for the Lions.
I dig the Lions, and I dig the way they play, and
Me
they play
too.
with their freedom. And
Warriors low, mate.
and I like that athletic young prop they have.
Asanate in Glabakanye.
All 161 kilos of
Love
him,
that oak.
Remember we decapitated that oak from
Connor.
Connacht?
Yes! The quick tap on the 5 meter just sent him to the shadow realm, mate. Good night, nurse.
Can't believe that guy actually got up. Huh?
I expected him to just evaporate.
I thought they were
under
just
the
going to bring the
pressure.
spades out and bury him right there and then. Eh? But I love his attitude. I mean, again, going back to that semi-final, the try that he scored, the try that the replacement hooker scored, when he did the somersault.
Mate,
the somersault.
Mornay Brandon did that record Ralph. I think my missus called it a stuntman try.
It was incredible. And I'm glad he got the try because you don't run 50 meters as a replacement hooker like that
No ways,
and
mate.
not score the try.
Precisely.
But they came back well. They've been the more consistent team, I would say, throughout the season. And I've got them to win a high-scoring final, 42-34.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm going to go Lions to win this thing 38-33.
Look what we got here, all suited up. What
Hey,
a treat.
guys.
The money man.
Can't believe
Well,
it.
I'm so honored to be invited onto the show. Love what you guys did with for Eben's 127th tie tie with Victor Matfield.
Tongue-tied there, man.
Well, yeah, big tongue tied. Yeah, so great. I love you guys' show. Thanks very much for inviting me on. And how can I help you?
You can tell us where to make some cash.
Yeah, we want to make some cash.
Well, actually, where to lose cash on the affiliate program. The more you guys play, and the more you lose, the more we make, which isn't a hell of a lot at the moment.
Correct.
Yeah, well, you know.
So where are we going to make the cash?
Look, I had my chat with Scott this morning, and he was talking about the game beforehand. Before I put some of my own thinking into it, you got to, and his was that the Gaelic passion, and you know, Argentina are very temperamental, as proven by their win in New Zealand, and then their 40-point dismantling the next week. But the same thing happened to Australia. So my take on the Springboks is simply that, you know, there's the fact that you can rotate 10 players in that have been focusing on this game for some time now, for 2 weeks, gives the Boks a huge edge. They have clarity, as Scott says, and they can focus on the task at hand. Rather than can you imagine playing a two-test match, 2 series against the All Blacks, and then having to get on a plane to go to Argentina? It'd be a bit of a letdown. So you've got guys focused, and I think the Boks will win. The thing I didn't like, Mark, which has got me not betting a lot of money on it, is Rassi's press interview. I don't know if you guys saw it, but in that press interview, he couldn't name one of the Argentinian players. So if I'm Contaponi, I'm showing that press conference again and again and again all week and say, this guy doesn't even fucking know who you guys are. He doesn't even know your names. Let's make sure they know our names.
Listen here, mate, this is a family show, okay?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We don't use any expletives here. You talk about it must be a punter's nightmare to bet on the Pumas. I go to 2013. They came to Johannesburg. They lost 73-13. And a week later, Mendoza, we snuck in 22-17 against them. So that Australian series, very surprised that Australia won that first test in the rain. It all suited Argentina's forward play. Yeah. And then they 20 points to 3 down after 29 minutes and end up winning 67-27.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
You know, so where do you shift here? Where do you go? Do you go total points? Do you kind of take a flutter on Argentina if you got some cash?
No, I'd look at the yellow cards for sure. I think there's going to be a few. I think Rassi's disrespect of the Argentinian team, and I know I'm going to come in for a bit of stick from this, but I don't mean anything by it. Rassi walks on water. But when he steps in that one puddle, which he did by not being able to name one of the players that he's playing against, I think Pollard had to do it.
Pablo Matera, I think was his name, number
Hugo
6.
Porter.
No, but Mark, what happened with the URC the game when was it Munster when we played and there was a celebration in the Stormers change room?
Yes. And they told Munster what they're going to do with him, and then they just couldn't back it up.
And what happened all week in Munster's change room?
Yeah, and look here, Argentina they'll be targeting this one in Santiago because they won't win in Elspruit. But if they can win this one, it sets up a finale next weekend. So South Africa have to close this one out now.
Look, the weather's perfect. It's a bit hot, 37 degrees, low humidity, 41, 15 kilometer an hour wind. So there's the stats on that. I expect a very high scoring game. And in fact, during my conversation with Scott, he was talking about maybe even hitting the 70-point mark. I had picked this game as 55.5. eBets I see has 51.5, so I'll be lumping about 5,000 on the over in that for the score to go.
And you get back what's on that percentage-wise?
If you bet 1,000 Rand, you'll get back your 1,000 Rand plus 870. So rather than go for an outright result, I'm just a bit careful. You know, I'm very conservative, so I'm a bit careful on. I think the Boks will win, and I think they should win well. But I don't like poking bears.
You said yellow cards.
Yeah, I see a lot of yellow. I see 3 or 4 yellow cards in this game, and I you know, there's a history between these two teams, as you know, and when you sit in a press conference like he did, and the Argentinians, Mark, are mad. You know there's 2 teams that are temperamental,
right,
and you don't want to piss them off. You don't want to give them any motivation before they get there.
Or you just got to smash them early on. Get Lavini to kind of get angry, sent off in the first 10 minutes, and they buckle and they fold, and then we know we've got them. If you go, we're going to just go away from Santiago for a bit, down to Sydney, the playoff for the wooden spoon, 3rd and 4th playoff. Yeah. Again, total points?
I haven't done my research on the weather there. I just think there's nothing to look at with Australia. It does, whatever name is on a sheet, I won't know it. their 40-point dismantling by Argentina. They were lucky to win the game in the rain. I don't see anything but a clear New Zealand win. And I'll tell you why, Mark. It's the motivation in the All Black. They're playing to. They're going to take this game incredibly seriously, as they say they've done all games. But they've got something to prove. And if I was Australia coming back from a 40-point beating at the hands of the Argentinians, I wouldn't want to be playing an All Black side that is far superior to them.
I think they got total points. I think it's 66 plus. Would you say that's fair? It's going to be a high-scoring game?
No, I would go under on 66. If that's 60, I would. If it's 66, I'll be putting the house on it. Under 66.
Okay.
I just don't see those two rivalries putting up that many points.
All right, so you got the Boks to win, you got the All Blacks to win comfortably. Money Man, you can visit his wonderful page closer to the game and go to eBets and spend money there. And Zels and I may be able to buy a cup of coffee on Monday.
Good luck, guys. Good luck. May every bet be a winning bet, as I say.
Thanks, and be responsible, guys.